It is. Doing it? No.
Can you hear me now? How
No,
about
well,
now?
it didn't. There. Is it starting? Like this is the problem. It says it's like showing, but it's not. So I'm like, is it recording? I'm like looking for the time to keep me rolling, and it's not doing that. There's always got to be some fucking issue. There we go. Never can just be smooth. Yeah, so it's usually got to be a fucking issue with this shit. I can't stand when all of a sudden I'm having problems where it's like it doesn't make any sense where there would be an issue.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Yeah, so this is the pre-show chatter because we just bullshit on the before it. I don't know why I just feel comfortable. Like it gets everybody like nice and ready for just to chill, talk, have fun.
Oh, please. This reminds me of the time I'm watching Match Game, and I like watching it on Buzzer. And they had on Richard Dawson. This is when Richard Dawson had his regular spot there, and either Fannie Flagg, Betty White, or Patty, whoever it was next one. But he had Polly Holiday, Flo from Alice.
Yep.
And it was her first times there and everything. And something happened to her mic. And they put the mic down like this. Went down. And next thing you know, he's giving a eulogy for the mic. We're sitting there laughing like, he led a good life. He sounded very nice in the beginning. Towards the end, he started dying down. Let us remember him in great pleasure and pride. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
Only Richard Dawson.
Oh, yeah, Richard Dawson, the guy that kissed every woman that if he was a host nowadays, he would have been brought up on so many charges.
Do you remember when Peter Griffin hosted, they did the skit where Peter Griffin hosted the Family Feud, and he went up the woman's blouse? Yeah. That would have been Richard Dawson.
Oh, yeah, now. That was Richard Dawson back in the day. He didn't care. He just kept going. So, welcome everyone to the Dragoon's Lair podcast. I am the Blue Dragoon himself, Daniel the Dragon, and Mike's not with me because he's doing his little performance and play. So, since he can't figure out how to use a mic, so it's like he's not here with me. And we had my brother Jay was on for the past couple episodes, but we're recording in advance, and I brought in a buddy of mine who I've known him just as long as Mike, only he's a little more professional, and him and I have worked on stuff together, and we've actually worked in actual jobs together. This is my buddy Jimmy.
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight?
Yep. So Jimmy and I have known each other just as long as Mike.
20 years plus.
Yep. And Jimmy and I have worked other jobs, but we've also been on the CSI Student Film Club, with student government. So we've had a lot of experiences together. We've had a lot of mutual friends, and we have a love of movies.
We started out in Cinema 111, especially with s'mores.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that one.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah, we had one of our guys, he had a bizarre video, and it was about where he was doing s'mores. It was hard to describe, but one of the funniest things we've seen in a Cinema 100 class. This is basic, but I mean, what was it? We were still doing VHS to VHS editing.
Yep.
So that was really a trip. Nowadays, kids have it so easy being able to just use their cell phones.
Spoiled brats.
Yeah, they've got all the good software that they could use CapCut and stuff for free. Things that we didn't have to deal with.
Children, let us also remember as we're doing the podcast, please silence your cell phones, Game Boys, and pacemakers.
Yeah. So Jimmy and I we've done movies talk and stuff. The film club was an experience and a half, but thanks to Jimmy, I got a student government service award. So it's like I owe this man a lot for helping me along in my journey because he had a lot of knowledge and he's put himself to the test over the years.
Knowledge is power.
Yes.
And Jason Simon, you're still schlock.
Thank you, because yeah, I don't have, like, usually Mike was not a film student, so Mike didn't have the experiences of the bizarrities, and I'm surprised that Jason Simon hasn't been brought up on charges for sexual harassment or showing disturbing footage to his students, because he had an entire class that walked out when he was showing a video of, like, it had a theme of, like, pedophilia, guys showing, like spreading mayonnaise over dolls.
That sounds like an episode of South Park.
Oh no, this was like really disturbing, where the students actually walked out of the class. Although, I gotta say, do you remember the one student who came to the student government to complain about one of our professors because she didn't like one of the movies he showed?
Oh gosh, who was that lovely lady again?
Don't remember her name, but do you remember what her complaint was?
What movie was that again? That's been so long.
Oh, I believe it was a Scorsese movie.
She complained about Taxi Driver?
No, she complained when the guy was saying that Sicilians are black because Sicily was invaded by Africa at one point. And she was on such a tear saying how the professor was racist, even though it's a historical fact and it was in the movie. You're blaming the professor.
And she still doesn't understand it. There are blacks in Italy. Has she not watched the World Cup?
Not even just that, but it's like, history is history, and I know people get annoyed by history, but there are things that are brought up in films that are historically accurate. And that bothered her so much that she complained about the professor. And, like, that complaint went absolutely nowhere. I hope that if she's able to hear this and she has tuned in, that she realizes that your selective outrage because you're Sicilian, you can't get upset over the fact that genetically, if you took a 23andMe test, you're probably going to find out that you have black roots, and there's nothing wrong with it. Embrace it. It's like, we're diverse for a reason.
Power to the people.
Exactly. So Jimmy takes care of a lot of stuff, and I know there was something you wanted to plug.
Let me give a good quick plug out to my good, lovely fans and friends over at the Alamo Draft House at the Boulevard on Highland Boulevard. Yes, no pun intended there. Every Wednesday night is Geeks Who Drink Trivia, where you can go down, bring 3 or 4 friends with you, bring a whole group of friends with you, and you could win fabulous prizes ranging from movie passes to discounts on your food as you're eating and drinking that night. So come on down. It's a load of fun, and just before, you can go see a movie if you want. They got excellent movies there, and it's adult friendly, meaning you won't have the kids screaming and texting during the movies.
That sounds like a dream. And remember, this is a non-sponsored plug. If anyone would like to sponsor us, please reach out at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's Dragoons Lair Podcast. All one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Had to get my own plug in there,
Hey,
too.
why not?
So, yeah, now I wanted to talk with Jimmy about some stuff, because one, we've been experiencing a boon in Star Wars TV shows. They've had The Bad Batch Season 2, The Mandalorian has come back and is kicking ass as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, bringing back Katie Sackhoff was a brilliant stroke.
Not only that, but she brought in the one and beautiful Sasha Banks, or as she's now known as her real name of Mercedes.
Well, she was there for what was that, season 2. But this current season, what is this, 3?
Yep.
Yeah, season 3, she's not there. I don't know if she's going to be making an appearance again.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah. Mercedes definitely made, she did a great job playing a Mandalorian. And now we're seeing, after the latest episode, that they're going to merge the Mandalorian people for we always wear the mask to the ones that they were more than willing to take it off. So this should be an interesting thing of reuniting the people of Mandalore.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, so these guys have been doing an amazing job with the Mandalorian.
I mean, you did see who they brought back in a flashback sequence,
Oh yeah.
and I'm still cracking up at he didn't talk like this.
Oh,
Thank God.
you know what? Ahmed Best took a lot of shit for Jar Jar Binks, and I will admit I was one of those people, but I wasn't messaging him, bitching about him. I hated the character, and I don't blame him for the character. That character was designed to sell children's toys, and it fell short when you came to the adult fans. And
Like we all say, what was George Lucas on when he created Jar Jar Binks?
in all honesty, the Phantom Menace was a entire disaster, because I get it that there's an entire generation that loves the movies because they grew up on it, but at the same time, that movie would be canceled by today's standards because the amount of racist characters that are in there. I mean, when you take a look, the Hutts are supposed to be basically be representations of Italians. You had Watto was supposed to be Jewish. It was really offensive. The Trade Federation, where he says they're Transylvanian accent, but they sounded like they were a bad dubbed Asian, like Godzilla style movie. Where, I mean, you've never faced a Jedi before. It's like, no, that blatantly sounded like a bad dubbing of a Japanese movie. So, that thing would have been canceled. But do you think we're going to actually get another movie? Because all the Star Wars movies seem to keep getting benched.
Well, we have to thank, and I hate to say it, we have to thank Han Solo for that one.
Really?
Because they said Han Solo did so bad in the movie theaters, they were ready to do the Obi-Wan show was supposed to be a movie.
Yep.
And I think they got a better dose of honey than the vinegar with that, because that was damn good as a show.
Yeah, the long-term storytelling that they can do for Star Wars, I think, is actually better suited as since it was based off of the idea of serialized like shorts before movies, because that's where George Lucas got his inspiration. So you would think the shows are definitely a better representation. But seeing a movie now, you figure the Rogue Squadron kind of style show, which was supposed to be about the pilots, that's been put on the back burner. Taika Waititi's project seems to be put on the back burner. A lot of the stuff has been pushed back.
Ahsoka is coming out next.
And Ahsoka is going to be a series.
Yep.
So, I mean, that should definitely be an interesting project.
That'll also bring out what resurrected the Star Wars and everybody again. They're going to bring out Thrawn.
Yep.
Grand Master Admiral Thrawn.
And that'll be interesting to see, because Thrawn's been around since the Shadows of the Empire books, which there was even games for it, if you remember, back in the day, when we were starved for Star Wars content.
That was Heir to the Empire that they brought him out.
Yeah. And it was definitely something. They've revitalized the character by bringing it on into the Rebels universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Rebels storyline. I didn't watch Rebels.
I haven't watched into Rebels yet. I've been watching everything else.
I didn't do Clone Wars. I didn't do Rebels.
Oh, I did Clone Wars.
There was something about the animation style, I think, that it's like...
It wasn't bad. If you didn't watch Clone Wars, you wouldn't understand the Bad Batch, because they were featured in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're tying a lot of stuff together the same way that technically you don't feel like... It feels to me like The Mandalorian Season 3 almost feels like Season 4 because of the Book of Fett.
Yup.
So, I mean, but they're doing a great job, and we're seeing so many Mandalorians pop up. Now, what kind of Star Wars movie would you want to see come out? Because for me personally, I would actually like to see them redo and just take the story from the game KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic, bring it into the movie, and follow an Old Republic long before everything else.
That wouldn't be a bad idea on that. I agree with you. I mean, they've done basically everything between the droids, the Ewoks.
Yep.
I mean,
the droids and Ewoks. I mean, oof. Our childhood was, we really struggled for anything we could get, and we put up with a lot.
please, everybody struggles to get the Star Wars Christmas special.
It's
With Beatrice Arthur at the bar.
You know, it's on YouTube for free.
Now, yeah, because somebody probably uploaded it there.
Oh, yeah, people uploaded it. I mean, I've seen it. I know you've seen it. It is a train wreck of a project. But, I mean, Mark Hamill and his glamour makeup, because he had his accident and they didn't want to, like, spoil how they were going to do that for Empire. You know, Carrie Fisher did not seem like she was sober at all for that.
When was she ever sober?
Well, she was sober for quite a few projects. I think she was sober during When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So, I mean, she had an amazing career. You know, the problem was Jefferson Starship's performance with the lightsaber, the microphone, where seeing the silhouette was very phallic, and it really was suggestive.
But, I mean, everybody also forgets, that was the first time we all saw Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah, that was the key element.
The first time before they put him into
Empire?
Not only Empire, then they brought him into the episode 4, A New Hope, when they put him in as, Jabba's hitman at the time, too?
Yeah, kind of just like in the background. But you know, I hate those special editions. But I gotta say, like, Lucas aggravates me because of the special editions. Only because the reason why I only recently found out, we're not getting the originals ever again, because Lucas's ex-wife has rights to those. So she'll get money off of those versions.
Oh, boy.
That's why we're not going to see it, because instead of her being able to, like, giving the fans what we want, which is the originals, we're getting screwed because she'd make money off of it. Well, although, now that Disney owns it, it's like, maybe? Give us an option. I mean, there's ways of seeing it, but it's still not the same. So, now, we've talked a little Star Wars, but I got to talk now, since we're in the realm of Disney. Marvel. You were just showing me earlier, like, about the old Marvel trading cards.
Ah, yes. The originals.
Yeah, that was back in the day where it was like they gave cards, and was those the first versions that ever gave holographic cards?
They were the first versions. They gave sports cards a big run for their money.
Oh yeah, I remember everybody was looking for the tops and like the starter deck, like trading cards. They were trying to get all their baseball cards, the football cards, but the Marvel cards really.
I mean, Topps had at the time, they had Star Wars cards and everything, but everybody forgot those when these Marvels came out, and they started bringing about, like, hey, you want to see, their parents would be like, you want to see my card? You have cards, Dad? Yeah. And half of them would either be the sports cards, or then like, wait, what's that card? And they'd see the Star Wars cards. Yeah. Those were the only cards, I think, back in the day, give or take, and that stale chewing gum.
Oh yeah, the chewing gum that was in there for so long that you weren't chewing it; it dissolved in your mouth.
It crumbled before you even got it in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, but remember, you also I think they kind of gave that in with like the Garbage Pail Kid cards as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. Back in the day, we had like so many different cards. I think they started coming out with cards for everything. And the Marvel cards, though, were some of the best cards because you got full stats. They gave you like background and stuff. Now, I'm hearing rumors that we may get a Chris Evans Nomad movie. How do you feel about that?
Let me tell you, I don't mind it. I think it'll work and it'll pass, because I also hear the movie they're gonna do with him with Nomad, what do you call is gonna be in it too? Not the Black Widow herself is gonna be in it.
I heard she was possibly directing it.
Hey, that wouldn't be a bad idea either.
I mean, those two have actually worked together on on a lot of projects in the past. And I mean, what was it? I think one of the movies that they worked on together wasn't that like MTV movie where they were breaking in to like for the SATs.
They did that one.
Yeah.
And they also did one where, what was it? Not the Babysitters Club, where the Nanny Diaries.
Yeah. So they've had a long history together, and their on-screen chemistry is great. They are a duo that when you see them on screen, you're like, okay, you know you're in for something good, because neither one of them is really that bad. I mean,
No.
I will say she's made some poor choices in movies. What was it? Lucy was like really weird and was not a success.
No.
I feel bad for Black Widow because Black Widow was actually a really good movie. The problem is when it came out and it was delayed so many times.
Thanks to COVID.
Not even just COVID. I mean, if they would have probably talked to her during COVID and renegotiated the contract and done what they did with like Mulan and like a few of the other movies where they released it straight to Disney Plus, people would have clearly gone and paid that $30 fee to see the movie at home instead of them going and then having her sue Disney over the fact that they broke the contract.
Yes. And then what was it? The Jungle tour?
Yeah, the
Rock movie?
Yeah, Jungle Cruise.
Jungle Cruise was the last one that they did for $30.
Yeah, but that one I think they also owed The Rock money for that one because of the deals. And you know what? It goes to show contract negotiations have to be very difficult. I mean, let's face it. I was watching a video online about talking about they mentioned the writer strike because they were talking about the rise and fall of Heroes. And I know you remember when Heroes came out.
Yes. My name is, what was it? Hiro Matsuda? Nakamura?
Yep.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Yep. That show was amazing in the first season. The second season started off strong, but the writer's strike was the death knell.
The writer's, that was like, what was it? The third or fourth writer's strike? Because I still remember that in the 80s, even with, I'll use it, The Cosby Show, where they showed you the same episode 3 times that whole season before they're like, hey, we got the writers back. Oh, thank God. I've seen this episode 3 times already. I'm getting sick of it.
Well, what was it? If you remember, when Fox first started as a network, the very first night, they were really pushing their programming. They showed the same shows over again. And it was the Tracy Ullman Show, where we got the first appearance of The Simpsons.
The Simpsons.
And then Married with Children. Do you remember the other shows that were on there?
There was...
I think one of them was Herman's Head.
Herman's Head came down the line.
Okay.
There was a show with Matthew Lawrence, Laur, and no relation to the brothers.
Okay.
He had a show, and that one did pretty good. I can't think of the name of it. And then that's even when Chris Lemon made his way into the world and everything out of Jack's coattails for himself before doing Thunder in Paradise with Hulk Hogan.
But yeah, I mean, when you think about it, there was a lot of shows that we saw a lot of repeats of just to get some traction. So the writer strike back then was kind of hidden a little bit, but now because when Heroes was on, we knew more because there was more entertainment news.
Yeah.
The internet was really kicking up because the shorts and stuff that they were doing online to introduce other characters. It even had the comic series so there was a lot of stuff for Heroes that was pretty big, but it was pretty interesting. But the writer's strike not only affected television, but that's one of the reasons why X-Men Origins Wolverine was complete and total dog shit. They had no script for it. That's why Deadpool was butchered in that.
Butchered? Oh my God, I think they spit him out, chewed him up, and then forget about it.
Yeah, the fact that Ryan Reynolds wasn't even at the end of the movie, they had just some stunt guy that it's they covered up his mouth, which it was I'm so glad that they corrected that in Deadpool 2. but knowing that Deadpool 3 will be the first R-rated Marvel movie
in the MCU, let me
oh
tell you.
yeah,
And the return of Hugh to Marvel movies.
oh yeah,
And now that his first appearance in the MCU.
oh yeah, and it'll be interesting to see, and I'm glad that we're going to get to see that. I mean, the Nomad movie though could be interesting because anybody who isn't familiar with the character of Nomad, Nomad was Captain America at a point where he put down the shield, he walked away, and his complete distrust for the government. He was a man without a country.
Yep.
And those Nomad stories were like, if you weren't paying attention and you just picked up a Nomad comic, you didn't realize it was Captain America, Steve Rogers. But it was. And everyone thinks like Captain America is a shill for the government. That's how he started off. But he was always like raging against the government and government oversight, government overreaching. And that's one of the things like I think like people can relate to when it comes to Captain America today.
When even because he was featured in the cards, and that was the first time I knew about the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
You found out about all these different characters and everything. I mean, they had Danny Ketch, not Johnny Blaze,
Yep.
as a rookie.
Yep. The second Ghost Rider.
Yep.
Which, in all honesty, I know like they want to do, like when they were talking about bringing Ghost Rider into the MCU, they were talking about the newest one. And the one that they brought on to...
With the car.
Yeah, which was that they had on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Which I was kind of okay with, but I kind of wish they would have done Danny Ketch. Because Danny Ketch was a pretty cool version of the Ghost Rider.
I mean, they brought in Deathlock. They brought in Blackheart in the second or third season, and that was Blair Underwood. People forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
And then they brought him in, and they were at one point, and I don't know how the MCU forgot about it. They're supposed to be bringing in, and they used them in the Scarlet Witch WandaVision show, that they were going to bring in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
And it's just like, where'd it go?
Yeah, that was the thing. They kind of, like, the problem was, like, Marvel was still, like, fragmented. And I think now that it's Disney Plus and they have one location for everything, I think that's helped, like, unify. Although I have to say, one of the dumbest things I've ever heard from someone, and I'm going to leave it nameless, but the person had said, like, they can't watch, like, the Marvel movies because they can't keep up with the shows interweaving and the stories crossing over. And to me, if someone can't do that, I consider that short thinking and unable to follow long-term storytelling, which means they're not, as a person, you're going to have a hard time long-term thinking. And if you're in charge as a boss or a supervisor for people, you would think those are the people that should have long-term thinking to plan things out over time. And when I've heard someone say that, I was like, okay, so I know your personality type on that one.
Believe me, now I'm at the point people are like, how do I start with the movies? I tell them, go to Disney Plus and do exactly how they have it listed on Marvel, where it's basically you start. I mean, they even have them where
chronological order,
which is perfect.
Yeah, because technically, yes, you're going to start off with Captain America, the first Avenger, and then, if I'm not mistaken, you would technically go and do Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Because Captain Marvel takes place in the 90s.
Yep.
So that is...
And then they go down the line, and then it catches to where it's Civil War, which I'll get to in a bit anyway, because I had somebody on on a website I go on, a little talk site I go on, and everything, the Civil War. Then you go to Black Widow.
Yep.
And people are like, oh boy, you go there? Yep.
It makes sense when you go right after Civil War. You then see what Nat was doing during the Civil War event before they bring it over to what was it, Infinity War?
Infinity War.
Yep. Because that was the first time everybody came back. But yeah, when you do it in chronological order, it takes time. to watch everything in that way. But even I'm still somebody who it's like I still don't want to watch Thor and Thor: A Dark World because I feel like they didn't have the movies down right, and Natalie Portman and Kat Denning were the only reason for me to watch those two movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, because I love those two. They're both amazing actresses. But the movies themselves were not good. I no matter what anyone ever says, I will always compare the first Thor movie to the 80s Masters of the Universe. All the stuff in Eternia was great. All the stuff in Asgard's great. When you come to Earth, that's when everything falls apart.
Oh, yeah. Where's Billy Barty when all this? You need help for this.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that you get into that. I'm surprised nobody's decided to say, hey, who wants to do a new Masters of the Universe movie? I mean, they're already doing, what is it? They just resurrected the Power Rangers on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm a huge Power Rangers fan.
I know.
And this anniversary Once a Ranger is going to look amazing. From everything I've seen, now there's been a lot of like people giving heat to Amy Jo Johnson for not returning, but she has her reasons and she has every right, and it's nobody's business why she doesn't want to come back. And I'm somebody who I can say I got to meet Amy Jo back when she was singing at the bitter end back in the early 2000s as a musical performer, and she was no longer in Power Rangers.
That's right.
And she's an amazing singer. She's become an amazing director, and she has other shit she's doing. So I don't fault her for not coming back for this. I was more impressed that they got David Yost to come back along with Walter Jones. Unfortunately, Austin St. John couldn't come back for this one. And you know what? Jason David Frank, he had said he was done and he wanted to move on because he was doing Legend of the White Dragon for Bat in the Sun. So there's a lot of stuff that was going on there. And okay, so 3 of the originals aren't going to be back. Thuy Trang, unfortunately, had passed away, and it seems like her character is going to be a focal point in moving forward.
They say mom. I think someone said mom.
Yeah, the new girl that's there, I think she may be taking over, but now having a robotic version of Rita is going to be interesting because during Power Rangers Beast Morphers, they kind of like hinted at things. And then Lord Zed comes back because they did Goldar Maximus in Beast Morphers. Dino Fury, the latest one, had Lord Zed come back. But it was an earlier version of Zed because technically any Power Rangers fan does know that when they at the end of Power Rangers in Space, they destroyed Zordon's tube, got destroyed, and let off like an energy wave that like wiped out like a bunch of the villains and turned them good. So we saw like Zed and Rita in like normal people form. There's been a lot of continuity errors, but I will say Hasbro seems to be like kind of like getting the continuity back together and even tapping into some of the stuff from the Boom Studios comics.
I mean, they're getting back together. Let's see. They got the Power Rangers. They got Dungeons and Dragons. They're trying again. Because everybody remembers Marlon Wayans did a Dungeons and Dragons movie in what, the late 90s or 2000s?
It was in 2000.
Yeah.
And that movie, I'm a fan because of the actors that were in it. Now, the story wasn't a great story. And there's a lot of holes and issues with it. And then the sequels were pretty much made for Sci-Fi Channel sequels.
Yes.
But the cast itself, Thora Birch is an amazing talent. And her playing the Queen, it's like, I feel like she was underutilized. Marlon Wayans did a great job, but he wasn't given a lot to like really work with. What was it? Justin Whalen?
Yeah.
He was pretty good, and I mean, he had already now just been coming off of The Adventures of Lois and Clark, and he did a good job coming off as Jimmy Olsen. But now it's like that movie, it's like Jeremy Irons, his overacting in it, to me it's so bad it's good. It really was. But this new one, which as of recording this, the movie is just hitting theaters today.
Yep.
Because we're recording this in advance. So by the time this comes out, the movie will have been out. And I know, like, I had said this before on another episode. I think I said it with Mike. But there was a image that I'm hoping when I do see the movie that it is shown in there. The characters from the cartoon are in there. So not the actors from the show, but those same characters. So the acrobat, the cavalier, the ranger, like they're there, at least in the background, which I think would be kind of cool.
Thank heavens on that. I still remember that show.
Oh, that show was great, but back in the day, things didn't get proper endings, and
No.
But to see that in the movie, like, there's a lot of stuff that's getting a resurgence. I mean, the fact that we're going to get a new Transformers movie, and it's Beast Wars. So we're actually seeing...
Ron Perlman as, what do you call Prime?
Yeah, well, what is it? He's another version of Optimus Prime.
In gorilla form.
Yeah, but that version of Prime he's not an Autobot. What was it? They were the Maximals?
Yeah.
Versus the Predacons. So, I mean, the anime, if you remember, that was the first CG... like cartoon, along with what was the other one that was on ABC? Reboot?
Yeah.
Which they did I know there was a Netflix kind of like a redo of Reboot, which it was interesting, but it didn't hold the same kind of feeling towards it, but it didn't have the same nostalgia. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are getting resurgence and brought back up. So, I say, you know what? Disney, bring back the Marvel cards.
Yeah.
Bring back the Marvel cards, because let's face it, I think that would actually help bring in a new audience, because whether they made them digital trading cards or they made them as actual physical cards, which I think if they did it, they could do physical cards that they could put like the AR stuff in there, because I know there's a company that they do pins that you can use your phone with the AR feature and you see them kind of move. But if they did it with the cards, that would I think that would sell really well.
I mean, right now Marvel has Snap, which is a good game. Even I'm sitting in the ferry and I'm playing it, and one of it goes, "You're playing that too?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "Granted, his kid's playing it, but the thing is, there's another guy next to me playing Pokemon Go and everything, and he's got his little Pokemon catcher and all and everything, and there's another guy playing it, but he don't got the Pokemon catcher."
Yeah.
But it's another resurgence. And they've also had, between DC and Marvel, they had something called Versus. They're trying to resurrect Marvel cards again and Versus. And I mean, they've called it Champions. They've gotten all these cards games out. I remember this because even when my cousin, God rest your soul, Steve, he was hosting these games at JHU and everything. He'd have people playing and all.
Is that is JHU still the only comic book store on the island at this point, or do we have any others?
I think there's still the one that's over near Barrow Hall, but I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah,
and I haven't been over there in a while and everything. But those were the only two. I mean, Jones left and everything.
Yeah.
And the last thing I bought, which I wanted to get to, and we were talking about the movies and Civil War, was I got finally in the trade paperback, the original Secret Wars. Ooh. Now, why did I say that? Is because there's been a couple of Secret Wars. Well, there was Secret War.
Secret Wars 2.
There was Secret War and Secret Wars 2 are together and everything. Yeah. But there was Secret War, and then there was Secret Wars, the last one.
Which led into Battle World?
That led to Battle World, but the thing is this. That whole comic series, thanks to Fox, thanks to Fox, destroyed the Fantastic Four in the comics for, what was it, 1 year?
Yeah.
Or two? And because Fox didn't want to give up the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Well, they didn't want to give up the funny part was, if you remember, Marvel was willing at that point they just wanted the rights to some of the characters back. they were willing to let Fox still keep making the movies.
Yeah.
But they wanted the rights. I know they wanted Namor, and I think they also wanted like Galactus.
Yeah.
And I can understand why, because turning Galactus into a cloud in Fantastic Four 2 was terrible.
Why? Everybody's like, why?
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a bunch of stuff that they did that didn't make any sense. But go on, like what you were saying.
But now someone said, I just read the Secret Wars book, and it was the worst thing I read. So I had to ask, which one did you read? And he puts up the picture of the latest Secret Wars. I says, you read that crap?
You read the new one, not the original.
Not the original.
I mean, the new one, though, I will say, when they were doing the incursion events, the only thing that I did like, which also bothered me, was there's one panel, if I'm not mistaken, and it's very quick because they're showing the different universes that are being destroyed. Yeah. And they destroyed the Malibu Ultraverse universe that Marvel had acquired and has done absolute nothing with. And granted, it was so 90s that when Marvel bought it, it's like, you can tell it's a product of the 90s, but I love those comics so much.
Didn't they turn them into the Squadron Supreme?
They kind of did a little bit, but if you remember, there was a cartoon series that came out in the late 90s, Ultra Force, which was the combination of a bunch of the characters from the Malibu Ultraverse comics. And they did do a Malibu Ultraverse like crossover into Marvel where they did the God Wheel, which they actually went to Asgard. And none of the Asgardians were there, mind you, but they had some cool looking characters like Lord Pumpkin. I will say one of my favorite characters, which I do wish they would resurrect, is Mantra, which was a female character that she had the ability to go and use the different elements. She had a bracelet that would, when she took it off, she could become a sword, like a cape that would basically suck people in, and like they'd kind of come out like they tried stabbing her, it would come back out. It was almost like Cloak's powers a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was
even like, Strange's Cloak.
Yeah, but then there was she was an amazing character, great concept, and it was a mom. So I'm like, this would be something like you could see a mom being a superhero. In like, if Marvel would tap into some of these characters from the Ultraverse, even bringing them back, like, or giving them a new life and rebooting them, it would be kind of interesting to see. I mean, they had an entire group, the Strangers, all struck by a lightning bolt on a trolley car in California.
Yeah.
And like this group comes together and there were other people. It was like they didn't have mutants, but they had like ultra humans. Great concept for stuff that it was like they found a way around it and they didn't follow the comics code at all.
No.
But yeah, but I really do think like if they had like AR like live cards for you to be able to have like that would get people back into like Marvel again, especially when you're going to bring in like other characters for the movies. Let people get to experience who these characters are, even if you're giving them movie origins. Like you can have the movie version and the comic version selling different versions of the cards. You know, if Disney's listening and Disney and Marvel, you know, hey, use it.
I think nowadays, since I say I'll use the Me Too movement, since a certain person has been excommunicated from Hollywood and beyond, thank God, that everything that everybody wanted to do for scripts has been coming into Fox, Disney, Warner Brothers, New Line. They're all coming in. They're all coming back. Even Columbia and all that. They're all coming back, and they're coming back at least at a good pace. And if they have to redo everything, redo the scripts, they're doing it. They're taking their time and doing it right. I mean, if you've seen it also, Hasbro's starting to get back into the movies again.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Hasbro, you figure they're starting their own universe. And they've got their Transformers franchise, which, in all honesty, out of all the Transformers movies, I don't know which one you believe is the best one, but I believe it's Bumblebee.
Bumblebee's good, but I mean the first one when they tell everybody that they're out there and everything was good, and that's when they also show Bumblebee in his original form as a Volkswagen.
Well, that was Bumblebee, was still the Volkswagen, which was great, but the first 10 minutes of the movie was them on Cybertron fighting the battle. It was something every kid wanted.
That's what they need. The Transformers the movie.
Now,
that's what we all grew up on.
Now, I want to see what they're going to do because Hasbro is now changing how they're doing Power Rangers. Because since we talked about Power Rangers earlier, though, I got to go back to it because now we have one Power Rangers the Anniversary Once a Ranger is coming out April 19th on Netflix.
Yep.
And hopefully this episode should be out before that. So I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be a short one season, but they did say that the next season of Power Rangers, Cosmic Fury, which is the first time that the team is staying together and just switching over power sets and stuff, is now hasn't been since the original Mighty Morphin days. And now it's like Cosmic Fury is they're getting a red female ranger leading the team. It's an upgrade from the Pink Ranger becoming the Red Ranger. So I want to see what they do with that, but the costumes are all American. They're not really using the Super Sentai footage. They may use like for the Zord battles, but for the most part, it is going to be Americanized footage. It's American costumes. So even though they're filming in New Zealand, which
true.
Should be interesting to see. So I want to see how they go with it because I mean that 2017 movie wasn't that bad. It was darker. I mean, they mentioned there was too much product placement with the Krispy Kreme thing, but Elizabeth Banks was an amazing evil version of Rita.
How they created Goldar.
Oh yeah, that was a little weird.
Was weird, but the one other thing was they showed each of the kids. They modernized them.
And they gave them actual problems.
Yeah.
These were teenagers with attitude.
Yeah. And then at the end, they left everybody hanging. I don't know which movie is worse with people hanging. Inner Space, yeah. They left a lot of people hanging there.
Okay.
Or the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie where they show you the ending scene and it's like, oh yes, Tommy.
Yeah, see, I feel that the cliffhanger really is for Power Rangers 2017 because of the fact that during that, like at the end of that, because we didn't get a lot of them in the suits. We didn't get them in the Zords until the very end.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was a long running thing. It was pretty short. If we would have gotten a sequel, I think we would have gotten to see more of them in the suits and see where it keeps going. And they left it off pretty well that it's like, I was interested to see where they went. Inner Space was fun, but it's like, it's been so long.
Yeah, no, they'll never bring that. I mean, what was the last thing that they brought back after so many years? Oh, yeah, The Incredibles.
Yeah.
But you can't do that with a lot of stuff anymore and everything. Because some people are like, oh, yeah, they created that. I mean, let me ask you, since you are the biggest fan of it, what do you think of this Evil Dead coming out?
See, I'm really excited about it. Now, I know, like, it's not Bruce's Ash, but that Evil Dead redo that they did was absolutely amazing. I loved how they adjusted the story, changed the characters, but there was still an Ash. It just wasn't the same, but they kept the spirit of it going. And I was really blown away by it. And I'm interested to see what they do with Evil Dead Rise. It's one of those things where, you know what, we got a lot with Bruce, and I think he's got some input into this new movie. So I think even Sam Raimi has he may have at least spoken to him.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
well, you know what Bruce has been doing lately, right?
Oh, what, Shemp Malone on Instagram?
No.
No, that's what he is.
Oh,
his name is Shemp Malone. Oh. He uses the filters. He puts out some funny stuff on Instagram.
Well, he's also and he's drawing it. He's also doing a Sergeant Rock comic.
See, now that's cool. And Bruce is one of those guys that he's got his hands in a lot of things. And we've expressed our love on this show of Bruce Campbell many
Yes.
times over. You know, Mike and I have told stories about meeting Bruce at different times. But I gotta say, like, he really is one of the coolest cats. He's done, like, so many different movies. And he loves his fans. Definitely worth it.
I mean, he's been in a lot of the Sam Raimi movies, Spider-Man's and all.
Hey, listen, those two came together, like they grew up together. They like Sam Raimi's put him in the movies. He is the final Shemp in Darkman, which most people have forgotten about Darkman. That was like an early, like not a comic book superhero, but they made it into like a superhero
Liam
movie.
Neeson as Darkman.
Oh yeah, the second one was a little weirder, but and the funny thing is, I think Renee O'Connor was in the second one, which makes it even better because it's like, oh, the creators of Xena were in the for the first movie, and then here you go, you've got the character of Gabrielle
Wow.
in the next one. So it's like I like that Sam Raimi works with like the same people over again. It's kind of like that same Kevin Smith vibe. Work with people you like and you know, and that they do a great job. It's not like he picks bad actors.
Now, speaking of Kevin Smith,
Okay.
all right, let's get to it since he was years ago under the, as they call it, quote unquote, Snyderverse. They had him on Channel 11 doing that little special.
Yeah.
What's your interpretation of James Gunn's gutting out DC, and maybe you think he'll go to Mr. Smith and ask him for help?
See, I think it would be a brilliant idea if he does get Kevin Smith to direct, because you figure Kevin Smith has directed episodes of like Supergirl and The Flash, and his episodes have been great. And he is an underrated director. Because he's considered more independent. And I don't fault him for Cop Out, because Bruce Willis was problematic from everything you hear about that movie anyway. That movie should never have been made. But I gotta say, like, the Snyderverse I felt was too dark and was too chaotic. There was too much wrong with it, and I'm okay with some casting, but I wish they did keep Henry Cavill. But and this is like, I've ragged on the DC universe a lot on this podcast. I really have, and I wish I didn't have to. But I'm interested to see where they go with it. But Henry Cavill made a great Superman. I just hated Man of Steel because I felt it was too dark. And I don't know, like I brought this up to Mike, and Mike had never heard it before. But I know there was, I think like it was on like the History Channel or Discovery years ago, where they talked about Batman and Superman in the DC universe as the cop and the firefighter. Batman's the cop out there patrolling, he's active, where Superman is reactive. He waits, like a firefighter waits for the bell to go off that there's a fire, and he goes to put it out. So I feel like they didn't capture the right spirit of Superman, and Batman v Superman was like Daredevil. It was too many stories rolled into one movie. I felt like Affleck should have kind of realized that when he saw the script and kind of told Zack Snyder, I've done this in Daredevil.
That was the Dark Knight. That was basically the Dark Knight Returns in Batman v Superman. And people forget that the Dark Knight Rises was 3 stories. It was Knight's Fall, Knight's End, No Man's Land, all rolled into one. But Nolan did it where you caught it, but it didn't. Where, how should we say? And my old English teacher used to say this, where if you watched Gone with the Wind, and it was almost like the first 20, 30 pages of the book, it was like taking a bouillon cube and sucking on it. It wasn't like that for the Dark Knight Rising.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's, Nolan's trilogy worked,
Mm-hmm.
but it was told in a different way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't part of the Snyderverse. You know, I mean, making some of the casting choices, Jared Leto as the Joker, I felt was a terrible choice, especially with all the tattoos. The only thing I really forgave was the grill, and I've said it plenty of times. You know, Batman's punched the Joker so many times in the mouth that I'm pretty sure he would have needed a grill because he would have been missing teeth. So, I mean, but that's the thing. I want to see where James Gunn goes with it, but the partial recast, keeping some characters, I and Mike have both said it, where we both think that they should recast the Flash, and like even if you're going to keep Ezra Miller, keep him for like a few minutes into a second Flash movie, and it switches over to redheaded Wally West, because 90s Wally West was a lot of people's Flash.
Yeah.
They grew up with him in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited.
Crisis.
Yep.
That's where too. People forget from the Crisis comics and everything. Wally was there.
Yeah. And that.
But the thing is that what is it? Teen Titans Go. Batman, the Batman,
Okay.
which will be a sequel, and the rumor on that I'll get in a second. And I forgot the third movie that they put are all going to be known as quote unquote Elseworld, which everybody, if you are familiar with DC Comics, is their version of What If.
Yeah, and the thing is though, most of the animated stuff that's come out is Elseworld stories. I mean, the new Batman movie that came out, the Doom that came to Gotham.
Yeah.
It's an amazing film, and it's a great Elseworld story, but it's not going to be standard canon.
No.
So, but they've got,
and that's where they've been getting their bread and butter, their money for keeping the movies and everything, is their anime. And from what I just saw, Bruce Timm's gone, and I think Kevin Feige picked him up, and that's not good.
Well, that's good for Marvel, bad for DC.
Well, DC, I heard for the Batman movie coming in, I think it's 24, 25.
And that's the Matt Reeves one, right?
Yep.
Because when you said the Batman, but you've said Teen Titans Go, so
Yeah.
I automatically, cartoon, and there was the Batman cartoon that came out.
Yeah.
Which wasn't terrible, but
No.
I didn't like some of the drawings for the way like Joker looked like a version of Blanca almost.
Oh my God.
I mean, I think it was Kevin Michael Richardson was doing the voice for him, and he did a good job, but at the same time, it wasn't for me.
You're not Mark Hamill.
No. No one is.
Listen, if you're in anime, you're doing Joker, the table set it there, Mark Hamill. Same in the regular villain universe for Joker, it's Cesar Romero.
Yep.
And everything. But you ready? Killer Croc. They're finally going away from the grain of use. I mean, they brought in the Riddler, but that basically story was not, what do you call? That was Hush.
Yeah, a little bit of Hush.
A little bit of Hush in many ways.
Listen, Matt Reeves is a good director and a great writer, but it's, it was told in such a way that I kind of sat there and it was like, I felt like it was too fucking long.
It was. You could have did a little bit less than a little more than 2.5 hours.
Mic to yourself. Turn the mic to yourself.
Oh, yeah. You could have did it to 2.5 hours and all.
Yeah.
And everything.
And that's the thing. It's like, it didn't, like, I have
without even touching the 3 hour mark.
I have a problem when the movies are over 2 hours at this point. It's like, pushing 2 hours is tough. And, you can say that it's because we're old and I'm Gen X, and it's like, as we're getting older, it's like, I don't want to have to stop drinking anything by a certain time before going to the movies. Otherwise, I got to get up.
Yep.
I mean, let's face it. I think a lot of people don't realize there were the midnight movies, where the movies really started at midnight. And I know, like, I think you and I, we did this for Lord of the Rings. We did this for the Star Wars prequels. Yep. We did it for, like, some of the Harry Potter movies. But you cannot be leaving a movie theater at, like, 3, 4 in the morning.
Because Endgame.
Oh, God. That would have killed. I'm glad that wasn't a midnight movie.
I agree. Well, now they're doing it where with the movies in certain theaters, certain companies are doing Thursday showings of premieres.
Yeah, they realize because it works better for their weekend box office.
Oh, yeah.
To start it on a Thursday. Now,
Mario Brothers is going to start because the kids are off on a Wednesday.
Yep. Now I got to ask you, how do you feel about the fact of the movie theaters trying to charge more for where you sit? Do you think this is going to kill the movie going experience in theaters and people will wait more for streaming and rent it, or people will still pay to go see a movie in the theater?
Let me tell you something. COVID destroyed a lot of things. The movie going, the theater going out to at least anywhere. And what happened is a lot of businesses need to make up and everything. I mean, a lot of businesses fell. Besides the mom and pops, there was a lot of businesses that fell that were corporate. And I even seen it in the city.
Yep.
And everything. And I'm like, they have to make up what they did, they got to gain ground. I mean, the first one I saw to do it was AMC.
Yep.
And everything. And I'm like, you know what? I ain't going to AMC. And I haven't been back to AMC since. No disrespect to you and all and everything. I'm not trying to and all. But
listen, the ticket pricing for seats, I thought it was nice when we were able to pick our seat, like when you're getting your ticket. That to me was great because you at least were guaranteeing where you were going to sit and you got a good seat.
Yeah.
But you're being punished for having to pick a seat at this point. Because it's like the further back you are, the more expensive it's going to be. You want the nosebleed seats where you're going to hurt your neck watching the movie. It's like it's not worth it as far as I'm concerned anymore.
We get between either at least, even at the Alamo, at least the rows 4 or 5 because I have to sit with the missus in the handicap area and everything, but it's not bad. Yeah. But at least I could sit. You get a good bird's eye view of the movie and all and everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of times people are paying for is the service at the movie too.
Yeah.
And everything. So
well, that's if you're doing a dine-in.
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, it's worth it. I mean, I don't know if people realize this, but you get a season pass. You paid that season pass. However, the one thing they don't tell you is when you get a ticket, you got to pay the surcharge.
Yeah.
And they still get you on that. But you know something, though? $2 for a surcharge. That's not too bad.
It's not too bad, but, with people trying to watch their spending nowadays,
yeah,
it especially because inflation, everything has gone up, that it's rough. And I feel like charging more for where you sit is a detriment to the movie industry.
We've got ours are either $15.50 or $12 for the first showing, which is pretty good and all. But I mean, then you got here's another example. You go to a restaurant now, you have to make sure you have cash on you because you're paying up to, but they're not allowed to charge up to 4%. So they go up to 3.95 almost % surcharge for paying a credit card.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like that's not right and everything for certain, but all the businesses are hurting. But I mean, getting back to people are going to pay $16, $17 to sit at the top. But you want to know something though? Even with some of them, they're getting their money's worth if they're getting the service at the theater and everything, which I like a heck of a lot better and everything. I mean,
yeah, but you've got the misses as opposed to someone who has the misses. They have kids. That's where it's killing people because now it's like the matinee prices have even gone away, and I'm like, that was their bread and butter.
Well, the matinee. Here's the thing: a lot of places, AMC charges $5 on Tuesday. The BFD, as they call it, the big effing deal at Alamo is $9, and it's not bad and everything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it'll get better during the summer because also the first they're going to have the cartoons and all that, and the first showings are going to be like $5 and all this and all that stuff because even Regal was doing it. Regal has been doing that for years.
Oh, yeah.
They call it the summer camp.
Yeah. Now, other than that, though, like, I want to move on because we've been, like, we know, like, there's going to be a lot of stuff we could talk about because the movie industry, like, the way that they're setting everything up for the theater going experience is going to be rough. But I want to touch on this very quickly, which is Jonathan Majors. There's been a lot of controversy about what's been going on, and I don't want to get into the accusations because I'm not going to jump the gun on anything. I'm not involved in it. I have no say, but because of the reactionary aspect of studios where, like, Justin Roiland, Rick and Morty, they removed him from his projects, they cut ties with him, and he hasn't been found innocent, but they just found that they didn't have enough to charge him with the crime, so he's off on a technicality. So I'm not judging anything, and I don't know Justin Roiland, so I can't make a judgment. The same way I don't know Jonathan Majors. But how do you think that they should handle it if they do decide that they don't want to work with him because of the problematic nature? Because Kang has been pretty intricate in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Intricate? Right now.
Let's put it this way.
He's a linchpin at this point.
If you've seen the Ant-Man Wasp Quantumania movie, which explained and showed all three sides of the Marvel Universe now.
Yeah.
And they showed the ending, which, by the way, everybody has to realize you don't have to wait 10, 15 minutes now for that ending. It's coming right away. And they started out with Black Panther.
Yep, which is I'm glad they started instead of waiting for so long.
Oh, thank heavens.
Especially, the movies are going to be 2 hours.
They even started with the Eternals, too, with their double endings.
Yeah, well, the Eternals...
We'll get to that whole Phase 4.
That's a whole other show.
That's a whole other show and everything, because that's all the, as I call it, the Avenger Reserve origins.
Yeah. Now
people forget that. Now, getting to him, like we say, what could happen? What kind of linchpin? Let's put it this way: they're already talking about him showing up on Moon Knight as Ramatut.
Yep.
So that'll put a linchpin in. They're talking. You already got Avengers, Kang Dynasty. That will put a linchpin in everywhere, is because he's got to be there.
Now, the thing is, do you think that they could recast? Because, technically, Kang's a time traveler. He creates different versions of himself every time he branches out. So, there's the version of him that becomes Iron Lad. There's Ramatut. There's Kang the Conqueror. There's so many different versions. So, could they recast?
They could. They have to find somebody that can fit. Everybody will say one thing. They'll be like, "Oh, what about Michael B. Jordan?" Nope.
No.
Him. They and everything.
He's already Killmonger.
There's a whole bunch of other guys that they can look at. They can ask Ryan Coogler, "Listen, we need your recommendations for this," and everything.
Well, not even just that, but they can recast him as almost anybody.
Yeah.
Because now the question is, it's like, could a recasting work because of it? Even though I don't believe they should recast him, because he's been killing it and doing an amazing job.
Oh, he has.
Creed 3. It's like, holy shit. Like, this guy is on a roll. And the first thing I can clearly say that I remember seeing Jonathan Majors in, was Lovecraft Country.
Yep.
And was so amazing. And I was waiting to see him in more stuff. And I'm glad his career is really starting to steamroll.
And remember, he made his debut in the Marvel Universe in Loki.
Yep.
But he didn't have the name of Kang.
He wasn't Kang officially, but we knew who he was if you were a comic fan.
Yep.
Now, other than that, I want to just wrap up the show where we're going to make, because this weekend is WrestleMania weekend.
Yep.
And Jimmy and I have been wrestling fans for quite a while. I dip in and out more than Jimmy does. But we want to take a look at the WrestleMania card, since WrestleMania has to be 2 fucking nights long.
Well, let's put it this way. I think they started this in 2020 during the COVID.
Yeah.
That was the smartest thing they had to do, because not for nothing, they had to move stuff because of Cena's match with Bray Wyatt, with one of the Undertaker's greatest matches with AJ Styles.
Yep.
And then they had everybody in between, but they couldn't have the Battle Royale, but yet they had the 24/7 fights.
Yeah. Yeah, so there were a lot of elements that didn't make sense.
But the one thing that they did was it was smarter to do it in 2 nights, because everybody started getting annoyed with you showing up at 2:00 in the afternoon at whether it was MetLife Stadium, whether it was Florida.
Oh yeah,
and then you're leaving there at 1:45 in the morning.
Yeah, it was like a 10-hour event.
Yeah.
Now, with the 2 nights, we've got 2 separate cards. Now, we're looking at, I'm going to pull up on Sports Illustrated's website so we can see what it looked like. So we can, I doubt that they're going to keep the card in the order that they have it listed, but we do know that the first, on night 1, the first match is John Cena versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship.
And he's already even said, and he's right, it's a lose-lose for Theory. And I'll tell you one thing. You know, a lot of people will say, let's go Cena. And what? Cena sucks. But at this one, Cena's right. Because you have to handle, on that Monday, in Cali, the crowds, which consist of the following: the U.S., the Canadians, and not only Canadians, but that's Bizarro World, and the world. So you're screwed. And if you've heard, and even go on YouTube and type the after Raw WrestleMania crowds.
Oh, they're insane.
And see the sound bites. I can't stop laughing.
Oh yeah, the crowd for the first Raw after WrestleMania, the crowds are insane.
The Burn Arena after they had WrestleMania at the MetLife, and it was after the Shield match versus Orton, The Show, and Sheamus, and the next night was Sheamus versus Orton. The crowds were going back and forth. They were going annoying. They were doing the wave at one point. Yeah. And then when the Big Show came out, they were like, thank you, Big Show. We were like, oh, thank God, too.
Yeah. Now, I'm predicting it's an Austin Theory win because Cena's not there full time. I don't see them putting the United States title back on him. And I feel like it's an attempt to give Austin Theory a shot at people giving a shit. Because his character really is at a point where I don't think anybody really gives a shit. And Cena's pointed it out. His matches are almost, they have to pump in crowd noise for the excitement.
Well, the one thing with this is a lot of people have been talking around. This is basically the torch passing, because what have they been saying about Theory? They've been calling him the next Cena.
Yeah.
In scary ways. I mean, but the funny thing was, he was the first guy to ever cash in a Money in the Bank, not against the champ.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, not for nothing. You're going to put Theory against Roman Reigns. That's like putting, like, AJ Petrucci and all the other jobbers from back in the days against Hulk Hogan. That was like that would have been the biggest squash match ever.
Yeah, but, you know, it's the thing. It is what it is. So now we're taking another match on night 1 is Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the women's SmackDown title. I think it's going to Rhea.
Rhea, and she would be the first Triple Crown. No, she would be the first Grand Slam winner besides Bayley.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, I think that's what they're booking for and everything. And this will match out a while and everything on that. But I'll tell you this, even getting back to the first match, if Theory wins, I'll tell you this, I feel bad for him for Monday night, because somebody that will be coming back will be gunning for him, I think. And there's a lot of guys on that line. There's about 5 guys, no pun intended for the restaurant, that'll be gunning for him.
Yeah.
And I think they would give it to him.
Now, we've got the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed tag team titles. So that means they're getting Raw and SmackDown titles if they win. And I think they're giving it to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
I think they are too, and I also think since it's the Usos and Solo will be out there trying to get some little diversion, I think that's when RKO comes back out of nowhere and helps them in.
Which that would definitely be interesting, and it could very well be a possibility.
Because remember who they took out. They took him out.
Listen, they were taking out a bunch of people, and Orton coming back is definitely a possibility. You know, I know, like, I don't have a ton of we don't talk a lot of wrestling on the show, so I'm pretty sure, like, people who are listening are probably, like, not sure, but we're also, like, predicting, so if they want to skip ahead, they can, because this is coming out after WrestleMania. So
this is how someone would say, a spoiler alert.
Yeah, this is our predictions, and if we're wrong, we're wrong. But you know, everybody's making their predictions, and seeing as how we're recording it on WrestleMania weekend, you know, want to go through it. And one of the matches is like a 6-woman tag match. So you got the tag team champions, Lita, Becky Lynch, the Man, and the legend Trish Stratus, taking on Damage Control, Bayley, Io Sky, and I'm trying
Dakota Kai.
Dakota Kai, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can remember her name, but the thing is, it was, I don't know how they went to Io Sky when her real name was Io Shirai. I mean, like, what the heck happened there? Oh, wait a minute, that's right. It's the Butch effect.
Yeah, they always got to do something, but it's you know what? I can't see Damage Control taking this, but I think it could be a surprise upset. So, I mean, there are rumors that, you know, Trish is going to turn. So, I doubt it, but right now, I'm putting my money on it being Becky, Lita, and Trish.
I like the Legends myself because I'm kind of sick of Bayley a bit with this Damage Control. They need some Damage Control.
Well, we need a little break from it. But now we got Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul's losing on his birthday.
April Fools.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, Logan Paul is a blatant April Fool. He was the joke that on his parents. I don't find him entertaining at all.
Let me tell you something.
He's athletic, but I don't care.
HBO's Bomani Jones rips the crap out of him and his brother.
Okay.
Literally. Oh. Seth Rollins has the perfect birthday song for him after he curb stomps him, because I'm picking Rollins.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, he'll give him a good push, but you want to know something? It's got to be Rollins. But if he lets him win, I'd be like, wow, he won.
Yeah. Now, there's also Rey Mysterio versus his son, Dominic Mysterio.
Ah, yes, the casket match.
Yeah.
Unscheduled.
Yeah. Now, the match is basically like, I'm thinking this is Dominic's going to be taking this one.
God, no.
I think it's Dominic taking it, and this is the point where, because Rey's going into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So I think this is the point where Rey gives Dominic the title of Mysterio. He gets the mask.
I hope not. I've watched that little kid from being a blonde head, little run around everywhere and thinking that Eddie was his pappy.
It was a weird storyline.
He lied, bro.
Yeah, but
I still got to go with Ray on this.
Listen, there's something about the condom, because it's like he went to jail and didn't even go to jail for that long. He was in holding for like an hour, and it's like they're calling him ex-condom. I'm like, so he's a condom? Like, everyone's been making the joke online. So the condom, it's like, you know what? I hate to say it, but him with Rhea Ripley, I think it's going to be both of them. It's their night.
Well, you see, if you watched and seeing the internet, they're comparing the two of them to Eddie and China at the time.
Okay.
But they keep showing pictures. They show Eddie and China, and they show Ray and Rhea, and I'm like, no offense, you can't.
It's not the same.
No,
But I do think it's going to be both of their nights. That's my opinion.
I hope not, because this.
So you're going for Ray. I think it's going to be Dominic.
I think it's Ray because Dom, you still can't wrestle, man. You still can't wrestle.
He's been getting some wins.
Listen, Logan Paul did a dead-eye clothesline to Seth Rollins into that cage, and he curb stomped him.
Yeah.
That's more than what Dominic does.
Okay, and then on night one, there's also the tag team exhibition match, pretty much.
It's a classic, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got Braun Strowman and Ricochet. You've got the Street Profits, Alpha Academy, and the Viking Raiders. I'm going to say I really love Braun and Ricochet together, but I got to give it to the Street Profits.
Hey, I got the smoke. I agree with you on that. I'll tell you one thing. This is in. If they let. The one thing that's really ticked me off is they have not let their Viking Raiders be who they were when they were on in Progress, in Defiant. They have not let them have the matches that they deserve. I mean, granted, they were the best tag champs in NXT when they were there.
Yep.
But you got to give the people, as an AEW sign, you got to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
And this is even in their field houses because it's a fatal four-way. And you know the rules from Triple Threat and Fatal Four-Way.
Yeah.
No DQ, no count out, no.
Oh, yeah. Which means Valhalla is going to definitely get involved. But I think this is the point where the Alpha Academy breaks. Because they've been setting it up with
God.
Otis leaving. Now, that's why I got to give it to the Street Profits. Because I got to say, Angelo and Dawkins, those two, they, as singles, are both incredible competitors. But as a tag team, I got to give it to them because I think this is going to be their WrestleMania night. Because Braun and Ricochet have been on a roll, but I'm thinking it's the Street Profits.
I'll tell you one thing. I agree with you on that one. You're not going to hear me say different, but let's see how it goes.
Now, night 2. I'm not going to touch how they have it listed because I don't want to start off with this one because we know it's more likely the main event. But we'll start with Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship.
That match will be a 5-star match because the two of them can throw down, can spit up green mist and blue mist, and it will be a shining match. If Bianca loses, it's because of the mist, or at least Asuka beats her at her own game.
I think it's Asuka for the win for this one because what is it? On that night it'll have been 365 days. She'll have had the title for a full year. So
basically.
Yeah, so I'm thinking it's Asuka's time because they brought Asuka back to the more devastating Asuka that from when she started. Now, who do you think? Is it Asuka or is it Bianca?
I think I'm going with Asuka on this too.
Okay. Now, we've got a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther.
Oh, Volta?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, you got Butch, who's Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
I think them and Imperium are going to be keys in this match.
Yeah.
And I think Sheamus is finally going to get that Grand Slam championship.
Yeah, I actually have to agree. I think it's going to be Sheamus's time because I think they're getting ready to move Gunther up to a more main event status. And
I mean, you've seen him in the Rumble.
Oh yeah. He was there from the beginning to the
end.
And I think he's at that point where they're getting ready for his now moving up from mid card to getting to the top of the
main
card.
event card, which
Yeah.
he's been even in Europe.
Yep. Now,
But now also, let me throw something out there. Because they haven't touched it, and they probably might touch it this weekend. Gunther drops the belt. He drops it to Sheamus or Drew McIntyre. He leaves because, remember, WWE Europe is coming back.
yeah. So
And-
you've got that possibility as well.
Mhm.
And he may be their European champion. So, I mean, we've got that. But now, Edge versus Finn Balor, Hell in a Cell.
The Demon versus
All
Edge.
the rumors are stating that it looks like Gangrel might be coming back. So we might be getting Brood Edge.
That's what I've heard too. Brood Edge versus
The
Demon.
A dark demon. This would be the first like heel demon for Balor.
Yep.
And I don't know, but I kind of feel like I'm going with Edge.
I'm going with Edge no matter what, but I'm going to tell you this. I want to see how he comes out, what Balor comes out as the Demon.
Oh,
Because you've seen him as Texas Chainsaw Demon,
Venom.
the Venom Demon, the Ripper Demon.
Yep.
You see, I mean, when he came out in Japan and beat Owens.
Oh yeah, Balor's done an amazing job. So we'll see exactly how that one plays out because we know it's going to be a spectacle. But if I see Edge coming up from underground with flames, we know it's Brood Edge.
Let me tell you something. He did it before against Seth.
Oh yeah,
And
it should be an interesting one. Now we're gonna skip around because I want to just go to the women's what is that? A women's tag team showcase?
Women's Showcase Fatal.
Yeah. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green.
Oh, God, Chelsea Green.
Listen, Chelsea Green is actually pretty entertaining, I gotta say.
Oh, she's been entertaining late, and she thinks, like, who the heck she thinks she is.
Oh, her character of the ultimate Karen, it just works so well.
I know. I mean, it's her, and then you got Sonya. I mean, they could be great love interests themselves. Oops.
Yeah. But I've got to say, this match, I don't want to say it, but I almost have to. I think it's Rousey and Baszler.
Yeah, because they're going to start pushing them soon. And this was the match to start pushing. I was waiting for them to hear them announce when they were going to be in the match.
And they just were put in. They didn't even have to compete.
No, they just said, "Oh, we're coming in."
Oh, yeah.
And everything. But I'm not for nothing. Natty, all right, Natty can get around and everything. Liv, Raquel, and then Tweedledee and Tweedledum. But Shotzi, they need to start doing something with her because a tank gimmick works good, but she needs a push. They were gonna. It looked like they were gonna give her one when she was down in NXT.
Yep.
And now they're not even going to give it to her. And I hope they start. They got to start because she's not a jobber.
Oh,
she works her keister off the kid.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, she's been doing this. She's been she's been between her best friend now is sick, lost her father. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, but this is why. But I still think it's going to be
Ronda and Shayna
because I think they're going to push them for the women's tag titles
Mm-hmm.
to take on Becky and Lita.
Yep.
So that's where I see that one going. Now, according to
Sports Illustrated,
we've got Brock Lesnar versus Almost Omos.
And I'll tell
The
you this:
7 foot tall Nigerian giant Omos. I think what is he? 7'3", 7'4"?
Mm-hmm. You look at every match he's been in since last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Him and Lashley pushed, and Lashley gave him a pop.
Yeah.
You go to Saudi Arabia, he faces Strowman. Strowman beats him, but guess what? Strowman gives him a pop.
Yep.
Then you got Brock Lesnar here, the man that could give cardboard, a paper bag, a paper straw, a pop, literally.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, I think it's Omos because I think Omos needs it more. And I think they're going to start pushing another giant. I mean, they lost the Big Show. So it's like...
You lost the Big Show. You lost... I mean, Omos is going to suppose it has to be the Big Show. Or you got Braun Strowman acting as Kane in a way.
Pretty much.
And it's like they were the stud and Andre at the time, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you even had to take who was in between.
Yeah, but yeah, I see this one going more Omos, especially because you know what? I think there'll be some interference, and I think the Hurt Business comes back into play.
I still think Lesnar's got this in a way, and everything's sad but true. Maybe afterwards you see the Hurt Business. But
yeah,
we got to wait and see on that.
Now, the main event, which we know this is going to be the main event. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, for the undisputed Universal Championship. I'm going Cody.
I got to agree with you on that because not for nothing. Is it me or are you getting sick of Roman as the champion?
I was sick of Roman Reigns before he ever became the champion. I've never been a Roman Reigns fan. Out of every member of the Shield, he was always my least favorite. He's gotten better, but he's still not the guy I want to see. Seth Rollins was not my favorite out of the Shield, but he was entertaining. But when it came down to it, it was Moxley. He was the guy I wanted to see because you never knew what he was going to do. Roman Reigns, it's, you know what? It's gone into the bloodline for so long. And the rumor was it was supposed to be The Rock versus Roman.
But there had been rumors that it was supposed to be, they were supposed to split the titles. Cody was going to face Roman one of the nights. And Dwayne was going to be night 2.
But that's not how this is looking, so...
You know...
Dwayne's contract, he can't be beat, you know? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, that's his movie career.
Not for nothing. Yeah, but not for nothing. Let's put it this way. Dwayne, in a full year, is going 2 for 2.
Yeah.
How? He does Black Adam. After that, DC gets bought by Gunn, and what happens? He's like, oh, I want this. Gunn tells him, screw you, I'm going this way. You're gone.
Listen, after he went, James Gunn made sure it was actually put out there, because DC made sure that they knew that the post-credit sequence for Shazam was supposed to have a couple members of the Justice Society, and they had to go and tap Peacemaker's crew for Amanda Waller because Rock wouldn't lose. Dwayne would not let them have the characters because he was pushing still to have Black Adam, who canonically is a Shazam character. Mm-hmm. He is a villain, anti-hero, however you want to see him.
He's the Deadpool of the DC universe.
Not real.
So, no, more like Deathstroke is.
Yeah, but he's basically like he's walking the line where he could be the hero, he could be the villain, he could be somewhere in between, but pretty much Neymar. But
yes,
he wouldn't let them because he wanted to push it as Cavill and him for Superman and Black Adam as the new pillars. And it didn't work that way. It's not going to work that way.
Nope.
So as far as I'm concerned, it's like Dwayne made a mistake. He calculated the odds, and they were not in his favor. And I wish he would have been able to take the match against Roman,
We all do.
but for real control of the bloodline.
And
But
this has been in the making since Tampa the first time.
yep.
Not the second time. Don't get me started on that.
Well, let's not go there, but
Let's
because
not go there.
we're really doing WrestleMania predictions.
Yeah.
So, and we're going way over the time, but you know what? I feel like I want to give people something a little special, especially because we had episode 20, part 1. I have to once again apologize because the audio, it is not your fault. Your earbuds were not glitching. The audio is what it is because my brother was talking away from the microphone.
It was like this.
Even though I can talk away from the microphone, but I know my placement, so I can do this, but he went and kept talking away. Can't hear him. So it's one of those situations where I have to apologize. It was not your phone service. It was not your internet provider. It was not your Beats. It was not your earbuds.
It wasn't YouTube.
Yeah, well, it's not up there yet, but
Yep.
it's one of those things where I have to apologize. It will be made available on YouTube at some point for you guys to see so you can understand, but I do apologize. So we're giving you a little bit extra here. This is where our WrestleMania talk is coming in, even though we're predicting in advance, and we'll see how it all turns out after the fact. And Mike will probably be back after that point anyway. But I'm actually liking having Jimmy here. He definitely makes a proper co-host.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I thought I was going to have to stop giving Mike shit after my brother and his audio glitches, but
No, we give shit about other people whom we will not mention on here. There are Lord Voldemorts and everything of their line.
we'll have those when we have Jimmy back, because I'll definitely want to have Jimmy back at another point.
Oh yes, and we will have our friend roast, or people we call friend roast.
Yeah. Now, I will say for the WrestleMania predictions, I got to give it to Cody. He's worked hard. He's built up his career, and he has turned things around so much that I feel like he deserves it. That if he doesn't walk away with with the titles, I say Monday night he walks away with them. If he doesn't get it then, he's gonna come out and get it in the week.
Or at Vengeance, not WrestleMania Vengeance. Now,
Yeah,
they took that off.
it's
Vengeance.
Yeah. So,
But I hope they give it to him, because even they've already said Roman's not going to be at Vengeance. Okay, give it to Cody.
yep, and that's the thing. Listen, Roman's put in the work. He's done the time. He's carried the company for 2 years straight as holding the title. What is it? It's over 2 years now with him.
700 plus days.
Yeah, so it's over 2 years. So it's too much. I think it's like, I don't think there should ever be a record for the championship reign.
The record should not be touched. I mean, they're already saying they keep Michael Cole, shut the fuck up about it. Don't talk about, keep Bruno's name out of your freaking mouth. Keep Hulk Hogan's name out of your they're WWF.
Yeah.
And those are guys that worked in territories where it was Montreal, Boston, Philly,
yeah,
and New York.
And we don't need to go into the history of it, because I think A&E's biography series of WWE legends.
No, what he called touches it more.
Which? Rivals?
Not even Rivals. Our famous network where they had the Chris Benoit story.
Oh, you mean the WWE network that is pretty much defunct?
No, where The Rock.
Oh, Vice.
Vice itself.
Dark Side of the Ring.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, but I will say, it's like a lot of the stuff has been touched on, and I just don't think like the records need to keep going that long. I feel like it's too long for any one person to have to keep going. I mean, let's face it. You want to have records of like 16-time championships? Absolutely, because someone's career can span that much. But I don't think we need longest reigning when it goes over a year.
we've had that already with Hogan.
Yeah.
We did it with the Warrior. You want to know something? That's when they fought everybody.
Oh, yeah. Nowadays.
And now it's like, granted, Roman fought everybody. Someone came in, dropped the damn belt.
Yep.
Go fight. Because, and I'll say this, when Brock had the belt, no offense, Brock was not a champion because Brock did not show up to events. I mean, Hogan, well, that's a whole different Megillah, but Hogan was in the regions that he was supposed to be. Same thing. Bruno, the same thing. But the thing is, it just gets aggravating. Flair showed up when NWA called. That's why he's one of the greatest champs. Same thing with Lawler. People forget Lawler and Flair are double-digit champs. Same thing. I mean, Cena, same thing. Why? Because they showed up. They brought the crowds. They brought money.
Oh, yeah.
Reigns, yeah, granted, they all won it, but they're all like in Howard Sternism. They want to see what happens next.
Yep. So, now, on that note, we're going to take things to the end because, frankly, you know what? We've run long, and I've promised myself I got to stop doing almost 2-hour-long episodes. I want to give you guys a little, some breathing room. So, but it's great to have Jimmy here. Jimmy, you want to give a plug for any of your socials if anyone wants to reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out to me at JamesH925 on Instagram. Yeah. All right, you can also find me on Facebook. And I'll tell you this, it's been a pleasure with Dan, the Blue Dragoon himself, and everything. And we'll do some more shows when necessary. Heck, if we get enough space, let's do it even with Mike.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we can all have a good celebrity roast. Of who? Well, we'll just pick the topic, and one of us will be Rickles, one of us will be Jeff. Roastmaster Jeff.
No. I don't want anything to do with that one.
No Jeffrey Ross. Oh.
No Ross. But now, anybody who wants to find me, you can find me on my socials at Blue Dragoon 13 on YouTube, Instagram, on TikTok. Hopefully it's still around. Hate this government. It's like really, I'm going to just really quickly, and I just want to say this. We've had so many school shootings, and our focus should be on, you want to protect kids? Stop worrying about Chinese government getting our data. That's not what's happening. Hell, Meta, who's they've taken all of our data anyway and sold
TikTok,
it to China.
Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah. But no, not TikTok.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're not TikTok.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook. Even, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has sold our data because his broke ass has sold shit to the Saudis.
He'll still lose 7 points next week in the stock market.
Yeah. Now, but yeah, it's, you can also, but we need to focus on gun control and protecting our children so they don't have to go to school and have active fucking shooter drills. As opposed to, I don't know, we're worried about them doing dance videos and basically going and not being Republican conservatives who are into evangelical ideals. There are plenty of conservatives that are really cool out there, nice people, but when you start going on to the crazy side, and it's crazy, but you just won't admit it. Now, that was me just on my soapbox.
Listen, you can say that on your soapbox and all. The only thing I'll say is I'll give a special shout out to those Nashville police. I happened to be home on Tuesday. I'm watching the video of these guys, how they do their drill. In they did in 1 second. Not Uvalde 1 hour. That still gets me.
Yeah, I know.
But you want to know something? I give them a lot of credit and respect. I watched the video, and these guys were professional. They showed you how they stopped the shooter.
Yeah.
And it hurts. I mean, my cousin had friends that were up in Sandy Hook, and it still hurts. I see all these kids in Florida, and it still hurts. Cut the crap. Get the guns away. Get the three. Do you know that there was a guy that they caught with a 3D printer making ghost guns over at a hotel?
Yeah,
on the ferry.
Yeah, this is a lot of
this is annoying.
Yeah. So now just to reiterate, you can get in touch with me on my socials, Blue Dragoon 13, TikTok, Instagram. I'm on Snapchat, but I'm barely on there. You can also find me on YouTube, and you can find my Twitch page, which on Twitch there is a link to my Discord channel, so you can follow on Discord. I do post when the new episodes are up. If I can get more people on the Discord group, we can have some interactive fun and do some shows on there, do some live chats and talk when we're not doing a show. So just check out the Discord page as well, and make sure you go and you like the show on Facebook. Like, you know what? We've got our Facebook page, we've got the Instagram page. So like us on YouTube, follow us on the socials, but also make sure you listen to us on Spotify and iTunes. YouTube, we post the videos later on so you can see the shows, because we want to make sure you listen to the episodes on Spotify and iTunes first. And I appreciate everybody out there who's been supporting the show. And I want to thank you for tuning in. And Jimmy, any last words?
Yeah. God bless, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
And thank you for being here. Now, as my usual call out is, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now get out. Later.
Get out.
Later.